like, something's wrong. I'm like near the floor.
Check that it's on. Hello, hello, everyone. If you can please grab your seats, we're going to begin in just a minute. Please grab your seats. Ever, it's a hard question. I'm going to pass it to Oriel. Talking about this earlier.
Can we start? We're good? Okay, fantastic. So good morning, Friday Inkwell. Grab a drink, grab a seat. So we have got a great panel. In my humble opinion, it's probably the strongest panel of the whole of the week. And you guys are the heart. There you go, there you go. And you guys are the real crew. You're the real ones that stay to the very end. So I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate the panel. So we're going to talk about creativity. Obviously, we're at Cannes, so we understand the agenda. But we're going to talk about specifically how we push creativity, right? There's so many makers out there. Technology is now normalized. There's so many opportunities. Brands are getting involved in creating different experiences. What are the creative leaders of our industries thinking about this? So we're going to have that discussion. My name is Justin Thomas Copeland. I'm a founder and CEO of multiple agencies, but it's really about the crew. So I'm going to ask everyone to just say a couple of words, their name, and what they do. Over to you.
Hola, good people. My name is Danny Jackson Smith. I am the founder of a creative management agency called The Creators. I represent artists that are rooted in culture and social impact, and so that's where I thrive, and I'm excited to be here on this panel with everybody today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tiff Rolfe. I'm the chair and global CCO of RGA, which is more of a... Oh, yeah, I brought all of my agency here to support me. And actually, I'm excited to talk about creativity. I've been coming to Cannes now. This is my 20th year, which is wild, and it's been interesting to see all the changes and new technologies and shifts in how we do work. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And I'm passing the mic.
Morning, everyone. My name's Oriel Davis-Lyons. For the past 5 months, I've been Chief Creative Officer of Mother New York. Before that, in previous lives, I was at Spotify. I did some time at Droga and also at RGA. Yeah. Hello, all. Hello, old friends.
Hi. I'm Andrea Diques. I brought some people too. I'm the global CEO at GUT. I used to be at GDB Chicago, Saatchi New York before that, and I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Morning, everybody. I'm Ete Davies. I'm the Chief Operating Officer across Dentsu's Creative Agency Network for Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Hello, good morning. My name is Olivier Henry. I guess I'm the only French here, so welcome in France. I feel a bit alone because I'm the only French, but yeah, I'm creative director at Publicity Sport, and I used to work only in France, only in Paris. Come to Paris, beautiful city.
Excellent. All right, let's get into this. So as we were thinking about the panel, and we were thinking about creativity, I think that one of the things that we can all agree on is that it's time to really and continue to push the creativity that we develop into new areas. There's too much opportunity, there's too much tech, there's too much desire for us to stay where we've always been. In order to push anything and to evolve agendas, you got to be brave. And one of the quotes that was really sort of driving some of my thinking was this from Maya Angelou, my favorite author. And she speaks about courage. She says that courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. If we're going to be creative and continue to be the epicenter of the creative industry, we have to be brave. So we're going to look at that across talent, product, in the boardroom, and also technology. So let's just get into it. We're going to talk about talent, because talent is always the most important thing. I think without the people and the talent, you don't have anything. I'm going to ask this question to Oriel, given your background with the one school. I know, you're looking at me like, I can't believe you called me out, but I did. So when you think about creativity and you think about the talent that you have, how far do you think we've come in your creative department, in ones that you've worked, of bringing the right type of talent to really drive and fire up new types of creativity and evolve the creative product? How do you think we're doing?
I think we're doing better than we were, right, I'd say 3-4 years ago. I look around, I had lunch actually at the beginning of the week with 12 young people, young professionals who are coming up through a program called the Creative Ladder, right? And that is a program that didn't exist, or it was launched a year ago, right, at Cannes. The One School, which I co-founded with the One Club, is 3 years old, and now some of our first students are here and winning Gold Lions. Shout out Barbara. So there is progress, right? You can see it just here as you walk up and down. There are ways into the industry that didn't exist previously, right? And we need as many doors as possible, right? And we have to make sure that once people are in, they're able to kind of flourish and thrive. And I think that's the kind of next step of the conversation that we probably need to focus on is, okay, once this talent is in the industry and in the building, how are we building, the systems, the environment for them to thrive, knowing that they're not necessarily coming from traditional avenues, right? And I think that's probably the work that we've done less of, as an industry. Right. I think we've been very focused on the very first part of the pipeline, but I think the shift now needs to happen is, okay, how do we make sure that pipeline goes all the way up to, this stage, right?
Great. Actually, I'm going to pick up on something you just said. You spoke about non-traditional people getting access to the industry. Danny, I'd like for you to take this one to start. You've got a fantastic proposition. I met you in Chicago. You took me through some of the talent that you manage, talent that I had never come across before. And I think your idea is super fresh and needed in the industry to do just that, bring different types of people. Can you tell us a little bit about the types of talent you have, how you attract them, and how they thrive, to Oriel's point?
Yeah, look, my background is in production, so I've had the luxury of working with a variety of types of people, and we understand that art and culture are languages. It's how we connect with people. If you don't have connection, you don't have work, And so that's sort of the stance point that I take. How do you want to connect with people? We connect through our senses. This is a sensual industry, so sight, touch, taste, sound. And I look at folks that are at the top tier of what they do and how they connect with people. So I've got folks from directors and photographers. One of my photographers, Danielle Austin, shoots for Gucci. But I met her as an intern at Leo Burnett through a program that I helped curate called Blank Canvas, where that whole purpose to do that recruiting process was throw a party, invite a bunch of dope people to come. You don't need to have gone to any particular ad school to get in, but you are a maker, right? So you're a poet or a writer or a rapper or a painter, and I've carried that same type of passion through to what I'm doing today. So I'm not looking at folks that have necessarily all the accolades. I'm looking for the best talent that really speaks to people in a particular type of way. And then I'm looking at people that really are committed to making a social impact. So I have an artist named Shala Akintunde, who is a solar artist, right? So he creates monuments like the one he has in Chicago, which is a solar pyramid, that are not only beautiful, right? Because art can be very beautiful, and just having beauty in a neighborhood can uplift the neighborhood, but also pour back functionally into the neighborhoods that they serve. I could go down a list of artists that I represent, but I think the main core thread is that culture and that commitment to social impact and creating some sort of change.
Tiff, if I could pick up on something that Danny just said, which is the different types of artists and creative products. And when I think about RGA, for many years, RGA was bringing new types of creative solutions to market. Were they ideas, were they products, were they platforms, were they all three? Tell us a little bit about the talent that you've been bringing in and how you keep them engaged to keep pushing your product and your brand forward. How do you do that through a talent perspective?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, RGA has always been about bringing different types of talent together that might not have normally been together. I think that's, both has always been a strength, but it's also the challenge, right? And that's what we're all trying to do is how do you bring together different kinds of backgrounds, different kinds of skill sets, because when you put people together, whether it's a creator that was more of an artist background, but you put them with a technologist, or maybe you're just putting them together with someone that grew up in a different country, it's really those different perspectives that is what leads to new ideas. It's the intersections of that thinking that leads to new ideas. And for me, even though, yes, there's output of what appears to be comms or a product, I think where it gets most interesting is when you blend those things, when you bring the thinking that you wouldn't have expected, bring someone that has worked in comms into a product experience, bring product people into comms, because maybe the thread is that they're all an experience of some sort. And I think we have to be looking at work through the lens of context, especially, where they find something, where they come across, work. It's always got some different context, a platform that it's on, the culture that it's within in that moment. And you have to really think about things as a holistic experience, no matter what the output is. And so having those different thinkers to look at it through a different lens is where I think you get the most interesting work. And I think that's a lot, at least coming to RGA, and I think why we all come to this industry is you want to learn from different types of people. You don't want to come in and kind of keep doing the same things you've always done. It's about curiosity. It's about learning. And sometimes I think it's easier to keep things clean and say, you do this and you do that, and that's more efficient. And that's how we move things along to make sure things get done a certain way because they know exactly how to do it. But that's where you lose the magic, right? If you're not putting some people together that might not know it, you come into it with a totally different look and view, whether it's a young person coming into that process. And I think that's what will continue to attract people in and make them want to work in the business. If we allow that blend of thinking, the number one thing that people always say, most agencies, it's always the talent, the people. You come in, you learn from others. And so for us, it's really, because we do all those things, it's always been about very intentional intersection of thinking. And the kind of thinking it is just keeps evolving. New technologies, new types of work, new people from different backgrounds.
Love it. I'm going to pick up on something you just said, that intersectionality, right? New thinking. Olivier, so sports has always been a thing with brands, but we've had decades of badging things. And now we talk about experience where sports and sports personalities are connecting. Can you talk a little bit about some of the work you do, how your talent helps you to understand how brands can have a relevant and a credible place with sports artists, sports personalities? What's the role of a brand and how are you doing that and how's talent helping you to do that with authenticity?
It's not that easy actually, but I think that the key is just to make people think that don't do something for me, don't do something for the client, do something for yourself. Even in sports, because sports it's like music. It's only emotions, pure emotions, but every kind of emotions. It could be joy, it could be fear, it could be angry. Do it. We always find a way to correct, or to readapt, or to rewrite, but do it. And sometimes, for sports, because sports now is massive, but the problem is that we have a little problem here in France because we are pretty good in sports, but when it's come to marketing, communications, we're not that good, using sports or athletes. So that's why I keep pushing my creatives saying, do something for you. Because, looking at Mbappe is fantastic. So I'm not saying that you need to be the next Mbappe, but you need to do something so emotional, exactly like the way you watch Mbappe. You know,
Yeah,
it helps a lot. It helps a lot.
got it. Beautiful. So moving on, we're going to talk more about product and some of the magic that's made. And Ete, I'm gonna give you a bit of a run up, my friend. So you got a few seconds. But product is obviously everything we think about, and it's everything that we are awarded for. I wanted to show you something from a friend of mine. You probably know Marcus. Marcus has written a book. If you haven't read the book, get the book. But he talks about, on the left, don't do advertising, create a cultural product, right? We hear a lot about culture in our industry. And on the right are some of the examples that he talks about: experiences, music, fashion, film, food, content, art, the list goes on. When you think about, you run Dentsu Creative across the region. EMEA is a multifaceted region, right? So there is never going to be one product that will satisfy everything. How do you think about the evolution of your product, getting into culture, being relevant? How are you doing that at Dentsu? What's your journey? What are you up to, my friend?
I mean, in truth, we're still going through it. The network's only recently been built, but building on the points that Tiff and Oriel made before, it's about people, right? And Danny said it before. It's about communication and connecting with people and understanding languages and, sort of inherent motivations within culture. I always think, and a lot of the points we've been talking about, is the creativity we make it's a combination of imagination and collaboration, the sort of imagination of the different perspectives, different backgrounds, different cultures, and then them collaborating to make something new. So what we are doing across Dentsu Creative with EMEA is we are essentially trying to remove the barriers between our different teams and different offices to drive more of that imagination and collaboration, not just within the agency, because there are some obvious things, which is culturally, some of the markets, collaboration isn't something that is naturally leaned into. There's a lot of process within the organization, and they just don't know each other, right? So sort of connecting people around shared ambition, interests, passions, and having them define the product, but also collaborating with people outside of the agency, whether they are creators, whether it is new technology platforms, just encouraging experimentation and collaboration, and then seeing how the product kind of evolves through that.
Beautiful. On that point, I think one of the things we should talk about is clients, right? What's the client's appetite for approving, welcoming your push, if we're going to go across the lines and get them to evolve? Andrea, I'm going to put this to you. I believe that Gut may have had quite a good week, but the client is also part of that conundrum, right? How do you get the clients to also want to push the barriers? Talk to us a little bit about that from your perspective, Andrea.
So it's interesting because I arrived at GOT, 8 months ago, and they told me we were an agency, that it was a brave agency for brave clients. So the clients that work with us are pretty brave because we push them a lot and we make them do things that have never been done before in speeds that, in timing that has never been done before. Some are, it's a scale. We always tell them it's a scale because they get very, sometimes a little scared about bravery, but we tell them it's at scale. And so you can be at 1, and what we'll try to do and take you at 3 or 5. But we cannot do it if they don't, want to play with us. They have to be in the room with us. So what I've found in the last 8 months is we work very close with the clients. We have WhatsApp groups with the clients, right? So it's WhatsApp groups. It's like, I have this idea, and then it activates, and then they feel part of the idea, and then they build. And if they build with you, they'll do it. They'll do it most of the time. They'll do it.
And clients do they co-create in those WhatsApp groups? Like, is that where the process goes to?
Yes, we have WhatsApp groups with the clients. They're in there. A lot of the creatives and the clients have direct relationships, which is different than I've been used to sometimes, where you have, an account person. No, you have to talk to me first. This is you have to find the space. Like, what's happening? What's happening?
Right.
So I asked to be included in the WhatsApp groups.
Excellent. Tiff, I'd love to just build on that. What is your creative process, and how do you work with clients? Because from my understanding, the range of solutions has historically always been broad at RGA. So help us understand how clients are involved in that and how they become champions of that, or if there are challenges, what they are and how you overcome them.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think most of our clients at least have a perception of RGA that we're going to bring them something new. They're going to see some new technology that they haven't seen. We're going to show them, how to build something that might not have been built. So there's usually a base level of we're gonna get something from you that is gonna push us or help us, see a new a technology in a new way. So there's at least that good. And I think that the point of like defining yourself as a brave agency for brave clients, you're starting to create a little bit of a filter when you come through the door. So I think it's really important that, when you're connecting in with clients, you're getting the right types of clients. They understand what it means to work with you, so there aren't surprises along the way. And we have clients that come in a lot of different doors because a lot of times people and clients are looking for a thing they need. They think they need I need a website, I need a campaign, and that might pull them in. But I think what is interesting and what they see, when they work with us after that is that it is looking at it differently, right? We'll look at a communications, a campaign, but we have experienced people that are going to help you think about what that journey of experiencing that campaign might look like, or a product that actually operates as a brand expression when typically maybe they needed it for this one use or utility. And so but that's a learning process, and part of it is the sharing along the way. I think the point of bringing them in is really important. There were times, when I was starting out in my career, and it felt a little bit like we would surprise the clients. I think Mad Men trained people badly too. It's like it's just a Mad Men going away to a coffee shop or having a whiskey and a cigarette and coming back with the brilliant idea. And I think that's not how it works anymore. Like things are so much more complicated, and there's all kinds of different technologies needed. You need even the tech now is as much talking to legal people, and we're talking about ethics issues, and HR is involved in a product thing. And I think that you have to bring people together, bring people in the room together, understand the process, fewer surprises, but still delight and excitement along the way. And part of it is that it's never a finite idea. I think we talk about ideas as this finite thing, like I had this idea and then I made this idea. But ideas are never, I want to do a whole presentation. I talked to someone about this yesterday on just showing what the first version of every idea was, because it never looks like what it ends up. It often gets better if you're not careful with understanding at the core, what is that idea trying to do? What is it solving? Then those ideas can get lost, and that's when bad ideas can happen. So you have to really understand what the core is without it being the actual literal execution, because it will change and it needs to change, and it's having being in the process and changing with the clients, and trusting each other that you're going to make these decisions along the way to get to the best outcome. And so that's what we try to do is open up that experience and that journey to build together.
Got it. So as you think about the possibilities of creativity, and again, I'll refer to some of the lists that Marcus gave. Does anything scare you guys as creative leaders in terms of keeping up, understanding it, being able to sell it having a business impact, any of the above or anything else? What makes you nervous around your product and the breadth of your product? I'm going to start with you, Danny, because you've got a collective. So maybe we'll start there, and maybe, Olivia, if you could follow on, just to talk to us about any fears, anything that's preoccupying your mind with your breadth of creative portfolio and product.
Yeah, I think right now nervous isn't the feeling that I have. I'm excited. I think it's a very exciting time. There are a lot of opportunities on the table, not just around the people, right, and the creative that can be made, but with the technology as well. And also looking at when we connect to what the needs of people are, it opens up the languages that we can speak. And so like here, what I always get excited about is what's the experience? What's the experience that we're wanting to connect? What's the collaboration that we're wanting to bring forth with our clients? So we try to do a lot of listening and understand like where are clients in their mind, where are they in their bravery? You know, as was said earlier, like some clients are at a 1, some clients are more so at a 10. And then curating the right partnerships to help our clients actually connect to the right experiences so that they can actually make an impact on people. So that's what I get excited about. It's not, you know, let me throw every artist at you. It's like, let me listen, let me learn how to meet your needs and understand what's the best artistic strategy to help both of us win.
Olivier?
Yeah, maybe there's something I can add is just don't forget the fun. Because, you know, we're pretty sad. We're doing things, we know we are keep thinking, but don't forget the fun. It has to be fun, and fun for you first. So that's why we use, how can we have fun by making this, living this, sharing this, explaining this, fun. Because, you know, it's only advertising. We're not supposed to, you know, bold people.
I love that. I love that fun. We were actually talking about this before we came on. Ete, I'm going to ask you to pick up, and Andrea, this is definitely one for you. So fun, right? I believe that part of our role is to get the clients excited, make them feel fun, get the teams to feel that energy around the work. Ete, talk to us about how you create that environment of fun, right? We're not just internally, but with the clients. And Andrea, I want you to share some of your jewels as well in that area.
Good question. I'm glad you came to me first on that one. Well, I actually want to go back to the point you said before around what's terrifying me in the topic of fun.
Yeah.
Not necessarily terrifying, but problematic, particularly in Europe, is that when we're making work, a lot of our clients are very obsessed with research and how things perform in testing. And to a certain extent, that ends up being who you are crafting the work with or how the creative work evolves, rather than the kind of clients leaning in. So sort of bringing it back to the point of kind of fun and Olivia's point around pushing bravery through that and actually bringing people back to the point of what we're making is advertising. In part of it is to deliver a message or create an experience, but it should be enjoyable. It should be something that kind of connects people. It should be using hope as a motivator as opposed to sort of, you know, fear and pain, because we know we have to address those things whether we're creating an experience, but you will compel people to do things much more for your brand if they're inspired and, you know, if there's some hope or magic in it. And so within our teams, a lot of that is bringing people out to Cannes, obviously enjoying the parties and the rest of it, but seeing the work and seeing the ambition and the potential that's kind of out there, because when you're on the grind trying to get the work through, particularly if it's through testing or whatever challenges, it can get demotivating, to your point, if where the idea started and sometimes where it ends isn't exactly where you wanted it to end. But I think, you know, even if you're not making yourself, re-pointing people to what is possible, you know, and not losing sight of the fact actually great work can be made, it can be an enjoyable experience to do it, and then taking that back into the clients and going, look, what we can make really shapes culture. It makes people connect with each other. It, you know, useful products, you know, services, and just makes people smile. And, you know, you can go back and be proud about it. So it's a lot of that, sort of repointing people back to what is enjoyable about this industry in terms of the work that we make, the people that you get to work with, the things you get to learn.
Love that. Andrea, talk to us about your book of fun. How do you do that?
So, listen, I think the world is so complicated and the clients are so complicated and the businesses are so complicated that if we don't have fun, we're all just going to die. That's what I think. So, I think that what gets in the way of fun a lot is, I have two things that I would say is, one, what gets in the way of fun is worrying. And it's the most useless feeling that you can have because you can't do anything about it. It's going to happen, or it happened already. Oh, you lost a client. All right, what do we do next?
Yep.
So in action versus worrying is better, right? So, and that helps you have more fun. So if everybody's worried at the agency, and then you don't have fun. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that we celebrate everything. Everything. Like, day off, everybody goes crazy. to we want a candy, yeah. You know, it's the celebration of everything that gets everybody. It's contagious. Fun is contagious, and when
Yep.
people are having fun, you attract talent, you keep talent. People want to work with you. Clients want to work with you. I mean, clients come to agencies to have fun. Their work, I don't think their work is as exciting as ours. I don't think so. Maybe it is. But they come to us to have fun. And if we're going to be like them, oh, awful. So we try to have fun and laugh all as much as we can and not take everything so serious. Like, you don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
So at least you die laughing, right?
Love that. Love that. So Oriol, the counterbalance to everything we just heard, which I completely subscribe to, is there's a serious world of business, right? And the accountability of creativity. Talk to me a little bit about how you balance those worlds, right? Having amazing creative solutions that are driving business. How do you, as a creative leader, where's your focus? And how do you inspire teams to make sure that you don't lose the business element of whatever solution you're creating? How does that work for you?
I was going to talk about fun, but no, business is important too. No, I think I do want us to have fun, but I want us to make an impact. And I think, for me, I think the best work kind of exists at the edges, right? You can be kind of loved or hated, but I think the worst thing is to be forgotten. So for me, I'm kind of always filtering the work as like, will this make it into someone's feed? Will this make an impact? Because I think if you're kind of organically showing up where people are already looking and in places that people care about, then I think the business impact is not far behind that, But I do think, that the hardest job to do is to aspire or to kind of try and achieve levels of creative excellence, right? That also shift, make meaningful shifts for businesses. I think, I've been judging I was judging for 2 days, and the work that we were looking at and the work that we awarded the highest was, I think, the main reason was because it proved that you can be exceptionally creative with two of the oldest mediums, actually. It was an outdoor campaign that became a radio campaign. And it was for a business that I think most people would struggle to find something new to talk about, right? And I think that kind of, as a level to aspire to for creatives, is really important, because sometimes I think we can say it's too difficult, right? I can aim for a creative target that's closer to me, right? But I think when you can hit that target that does it all, it's a great feeling. So I want to hold up those examples. I want to hold them up internally, for us at Mother, and just prove that it is possible. But I think it's always on my mind, right? How will this really make an impact? Who will give a shit?
And as we think about sort of the impacts and clients and what they're asking for, technology has come up all over this week. I'm not going to refer to GBT, but I do want to talk about technology broadly, right? How are you guys integrating technology? How is it helping you to drive better work, different work? How is it helping you to stay connected to communities? That's come up here. If you're going to be pushing outside of your lane, I believe technology can help in a number of ways, right? As well as being business accountable, because you can create business models from direct connection with consumers. How are you guys leveraging technology to really help you push out into new areas? What does that look like in your respective agencies? I'm going to start with you, Tiff, and then Ete, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a voice in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much core to what we do. I personally believe technology and creativity are kind of inseparable. I mean, if you just go back to the beginning of time, it was like our creativity always had some sort of tool for expression, because we have this insatiable need to either personally express or express stories of our culture, from printing press to TV to what, it just, as new technology has always come out, it's always been this opportunity for humans to figure out how to leverage it to push the creativity and to do new things. And so it's just never even been a question in my mind that as a new technology comes out, it's like our job as creative people to figure it out, to experiment with it, to play with it, and to build new things with it. And so, our job, especially where I am at RGA, is we have to be always out in front experimenting it. I know there's fear around technology. Someone told me I was an optimistic futurist, I guess, and part of that is I believe that it's our job as creative people to make the technology into the thing we want it to be. I mean, when you're afraid of tech and you just want to wait to see what happens, I guarantee you it's not going to turn out probably the way you want. And so I think it's our obligation as creative people to find ways to make it this amazing human expression and tool to do a lot of different things. And we have to always be experimenting. It's, you go down paths, you don't know what it is yet, and you see that with technology. There's a curve where, initially there's a lot of rush to it, and maybe speculation and some things we saw, we've seen different trends over the years, whether I remember when I've been in this business a long time, and I started out as a web programmer designer, internet in the 90s when everyone thought the internet was a trend, and it was, one thing, and it became another thing, and it led to new innovations. And, that's the exciting thing, is we don't know what they are yet as they come out, but part of our job is to play, make mistakes, do a bunch of NFTs that maybe no one uses or whatever. Part of it is that experimentation, and then we find the things that are really meaningful, what the core of that technology can be for people, and then build from that. And that's, that's what I think my job is every day, and that's what we try to do consistently.
Anything to add?
I agree with Tiff, encouraging experimentation and building a culture around that. At the network level, there is an unhealthy obsession with particularly AI and how it's going to deliver scale and profitability.
Can I just ask on that? Is that an efficiency discussion, or is that a creativity discussion?
It's both a little bit. And what it is creating is a slight panic, I think, across the creative community and ultimately the people, right? Because it is the whole, is AI going to take our jobs, the rest of it? And so a lot of what we're trying to do as the creative leaders within the creative service line of Dentsu is actually trying to, again, repoint the conversation to what the creative potential of the technology is. Yeah, okay, the efficiency, productivity thing is going to happen, and the business is always going to look at that. But how do we actually use it to make better work for our clients, so that it becomes that force multiplier, to Oriol's point, in terms of the effectiveness of the work for their business and how it gives them, category shifts and, ongoing kind of success. And in order to do that, and also not just say or do the same thing that everybody's doing with the technology, we're really sort of focusing on looking at like underserved groups or underserved communities, because they're already hacking tons of systems and using technologies in interesting ways to do that. So if you plug into those groups and you collaborate with them and you get ideas, you actually start to take your creativity, particularly with technology, to new use cases and new places, which are beyond the obvious, but that is that sort of 10% innovation space that actually works for everybody. So that's what we've tried to push the teams to do a lot more, and our clients as well.
Got it. Andrea, I don't know if you do this, but I'd love to get your perspective. Being an independent, you probably have a different conversation than maybe a network creative leader. In terms of what you can do with technology, how flexible, how quickly, how much you can play. How are you at Gut and Oriol? I'd love to get your perspective at Mother, another independent. How are you thinking about technology? How is it enhancing your work? Can you just share anything you've done recently as just an example of how you guys are embracing it, or not, if you see differently?
Listen, it's a tool like any other, right? So I think when I don't understand the technology, I say I don't understand it. And so I go to the young ones, because I'm like their parents. It's like their age, more or less, of their parents. So it's like, hey, I don't understand this. And I sit with the young kids, and they explain it to me, and it's really exciting.
Right.
They're using it every day. So, it's as we were talking before, right? How do you keep up? I have to keep up. If not, I can't be in the conversation. I just can't be in the conversation. I want to understand the ideas. So to the question of, are we using it? Everybody is. All our creative talent, all our young talent is using it every day. And if you don't use it, you're not going to keep up. Simple as that. And sometimes we train clients on it. Sometimes clients train us on it. Sometimes we bring people to train us on it. And I try to go to all the trainings just to learn a little bit too.
Got it. Oriol, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think we're already using it. We're investing in training, right? We want to get everyone to at least the same level of like proficiency.
Do you have groups in your agency that do that? Do you have people who are accountable to train, and there's
No.
real accountability, or is it more organic?
No, we can bring in like external partners, like people who kind of can help run those, and facilitate those kinds of trainings. And then we talk about it a lot. But I think the conversation that we have internally is that it is just a tool, and in fact, it puts a premium, I think, back on creativity. So for us, it's now the time is to figure out how to use these tools, but also double down on, I think, the original source, right, of creativity. And for example, if you're an art director and you've really invested in your craft and you have a deep well of references to pull from, then you will be able to get to more interesting things on Midjourney, right? So I think for us, it's about actually doubling down on what it is that makes us unique, which is our ability to connect dots that AI wouldn't, right? It's our cultural awareness, right, that ChatGPT can't understand. So as much as we talk about the tech and we use it, we spend, I think, more time talking about what is the original source of creativity and what are the human insights that are going to drive how we use that tech.
Got it. Beautiful. Danny, your collective, tell us a little bit about how you are resourced and how you stay connected to what is new, what is fresh. How do you stay inspired? Because you've got a group of people that are sort of living in subcultures all the time, right? You could potentially fall prey of the shiny object because you're always seeing new. How are you understanding what's new and will drive great creative solutions for clients? How do you stay inspired and filter what's the next thing or the thing that you should focus on? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I think it's a nice balance of, as we say, keeping your ear to the street, but also understanding what is really meaningful and what creates meaning. And so there's always going to be some new technology, some new thing that you can pick up and try, or somebody's going to say, this app is out, app is in, or, something of that nature. But what is it actually doing for the people that we're serving? Who are the communities that we're actually trying to talk to and communicate with? And what's our goal? And that always makes the difference. Maybe there is a moment where we want to jump on the shiny, new, trendy thing because it actually makes an impact. But other times, the tried and true arc of storytelling is what's most important. Who are the people? What are the stories we're trying to tell? And I think it's been said here, I try to keep a nice roster of young people. I'm actually going back home to Chicago this week to tutor elementary school children, right? And it's interesting to think about like how much I can learn in an internship with someone that's in 8th grade, because what they're seeing at that level is very different than the Gen Z crowd that's, in high school or, in college, or millennials, X, Y, or Z. So I just try to stay really in tune with a variety of people, young, older, intergenerational relationships. All of that matters and pours into the storytelling. And it also matters for my curation of the talent that I work with. So I don't, when you look at our roster, it's not just like, hey, it's the, latest TikToker. We do have influencers that are very influential on TikTok, Instagram, things of that nature. But we also have seasoned veterans in fine arts. We have seasoned veterans. My artist, John Jennings, is a New York Times best-selling graphic novelist, known for adapting Octavia Butler series, right? Kindred and Parable of the Sower. That means it takes time, right, to grow some perfection. And then being able to really find those nuggets across generations, I think makes the work better and helps us to serve our clients better.
I love that. I want to go back to the community, the effect of our work. I know you have a very socially driven agenda for the work you do. I want to talk to you, Olivier, about sports, because when we think about creativity, I think it should affect the communities in a positive way. Sports is a definite vehicle for doing that, and it's growing. the amount of tie-ups, the amount of investment, it's just ballooning. How do you stay connected to the communities? How does the work that your teams do have an effect on the communities? How do you see that through the lens of sports and the work you do?
Because there is something really interesting about sports. Let's say, for instance, that football, not soccer, guys, football, it's like, a common language. So you can unify, you can express yourself by using, football, for instance. But even if it's not football, it's sports. So when you think about a community, and when you think about people who are, really passionate about sport, I'm not saying it's easy, but it helps a lot. It helps to, bring people together because, for instance, we lost the last final, over Argentina. It was sad. It was sad. But I know what Argentinian people think. I know that how French people think, and it's the same actually. So when you think about community and when you think about sports, there is something interesting because it's people cheer, people chant, people do something really human. So, basically, for instance, in Paris, if you think about Paris Saint-Germain, the football club,
Yep.
it's easy to start a conversation because you have people who like the club and people who dislike the club. But anyway, they're talking, So for me, it's the pure joy of working with sports and for brands like, sponsors or stuff like that. It is my opinion.
Got it. So as we finish up, I wanted to ask you all, and we can go one by one. Did you think about pushing creativity in your respective agendas, coming away from Cannes, being inspired not just by the work, but hopefully by the young talent that's here? There's so much talent. What is the one thing that you're going to commit to as you think about pushing the creative agenda for your respective organizations and with your teams? What are you going to do? What are you taking back? What are you pushing forward? Help us understand that. We'll start with you, Danny.
Yeah, my main goal coming from here to push the work forward is authentic connection, right? And so, again, as you said, there's a lot of amazing talent and amazing people. And so when you think about the authentic connection, we're looking beyond our titles. We're looking beyond the places that we work or where we're from and looking at what makes us tick and how we relate to each other and elevating those things, elevating those commonalities. And I think that's what makes the work better, and that's what makes society better. It creates a space for us to actually build bridges. So that's what I'm taking away.
Yeah, there's a lot happening right now in the world. Our clients are under intense pressure around economics. I'm personally really freaked out about some of the things that we've been seeing with marketers getting targeted and attacked for taking risks around their values, which means it's much harder to be brave if there's personal, your life's at stake in some way. Maybe we will die, Andrea. I'm not going to say, but
Can we just pause? Can you just stay on that point though? That's a really important point. What's your feeling on that, right? Because as much as we want to push outside our lane, the world's different, right? And energies build up really quickly that are not always for the good, right? And clients are humans that sometimes can be targeted. What's your thought on that?
I think we have to be, this is where we as creative people, and we didn't get too much into this, but we have to understand the business. We have to understand what the clients are going through. We have to understand what's at stake, because risk is always about some sort of sacrifice and some sort of risk where something's at stake. And I think you have to go, well, what are the stakes that are worth it? And then how do you can't just throw a wild idea out there and put all the risk and, it's a lot on a client to make that call, and it comes back to them. It does come back to us, but it even more comes back to them. And I think you have to be, even closer. You have to not do it out of I just wanted to win an award, but not really think of the outcome. And then how do we partner with clients, partner with each other so that we can still do those brave ideas, push to really represent, the values and stand for something, but I think we have to be really aware of like what's around us in the world and the context. Like even an idea that might be fine yesterday might not be fine tomorrow. The real time of how we have to think about our work, and it can't be in a bubble in a vacuum. You need different people looking at it. It's important. We do this a lot where when there's any kind of flag and work along the way, we bring people together who are people that are especially knowledgeable about that or have a background from a culture, and we bring it together and we talk about it because we don't always see all the things. And so that's where I think just us working across, bringing different people in, thinking, and really building that trust through understanding of what's happening, and also what the clients are giving up by taking on some of these brave ideas, and how we help them through it.
Love that. Excellent. Oriel, what are you pushing? What are the things that you're going to be taking back, and the considerations?
I want to keep building, Mother New York, the family, into a platform for a new generation of creatives and creativity, right? I want it to be a place where people can come and kind of reach their fullest potential in a way they maybe can't otherwise, right? And my role is to kind of set the bar of what we consider great creative excellence, and how people get over that bar is then up to them. And for me, it's kind of the journey I'm on, and now it's the journey that Mother's on, and hopefully other people will join us. So,
love it, Andrea.
So, listen, there's many ways to push creativity. I think that what I try to focus on personally and with the agency is, I think you have to have a balance of how the young talent is thinking, but also what has happened in the past, right? So I can, you have to study the world of communications and advertising. Like, I really sit and study what happened 20 years ago. I remember every year after I come from Cannes, I look at everything that won and everything that didn't win. And because it inspires you and it gives you a lot of knowledge. So yes, the young talent come up with really good ideas and really new ways of doing things. And if you mix that with what we know and what has happened before, it's magic. You can create magic, right? So it's like an idea pops up, and it's simple, and the simplicity of it comes maybe from, it's something that's been done before many, many times. It just has a little new thing that you put from what's happening today. So I encourage people to be curious, I guess, is learn about everything that is around you, but also what happened before, right? And understand that. So, and then you can push it, because you can talk about it and push it.
Love it. Ete.
Probably doesn't sound that exciting, but equitable.
No.
Equitable collaboration, which I think is really important, right? There is so much conversation here across the industry about the creator economy. There is so much conversation about how we collaborate across, different partners, whether it's technology, media, whatever else. In the past, that collaboration, particularly from agency industry side, and just truth, has been exploitative, not necessarily equitable. Mm-hmm. And then we also have an approaching challenge around IP. Again,
can we talk about exploitative, exploitation? Yeah. What do you mean by that? Just I want to pick up on that. This is Real Talk Friday.
I mean, how much time do we have? Just, I guess, top line in sort of several points. Misrepresentation or an absence of representation.
Right.
In the work, in credit of the work.
Right.
And not just in the listing or the awards. I'm talking also about the commercial and the financial side critically, which actually stops people from progressing their own creativity and collaborating further.
Right.
We need to get better at that. We're still not good enough at that, and we don't, I'm not going to labor about the creator economy, and Danny will do a much better job talking about that than I will. Mm-hmm. But I do think, agency side, I do think brands, we need to think more in a more considered way about equitable collaboration.
Yeah.
And again, as I said, we are now approaching a point whereby, we've all seen it in the news recently, and Will Iron was talking about it on stage. We're going to face challenges with IP, which is only going to be even more challenging for the creators. Yep. So I think there's a responsibility, particularly for us in the big agency groups working with the brands, to make sure all collaboration is equitable.
Yeah, just a quick response because I really love what you just said. Because for me, it's like keep listening to others. Because when for the young creative, of course, I'm the boss, but I just want to explain to them that I need you. I need to listen from you, and you need to listen from the client, and you need to listen to the viewers, for the people. Because if you keep by if you keep a dialogue, it's good for everyone.
Yeah,
For me, it's key.
beautiful. Well, look, we're going to wrap it here. What I hope is that you all and you represent for me the full gamut of creativity. I hope you guys in the next year just stay connected, learn from each other. I think if this can become a powerful conversation that continues, you will spark creativity without even trying. So that's my only wish of you all. I also want to thank you for being here. It was Inkwell, it was Friday, it was Real Talk. You guys are amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello, hello, hello. We're getting ready for our next panel. So please come in and fill in the seats. And if you're in the cafe area, please lower your voices. Our next panel is one you do not want to miss. We are super excited about this particular conversation. And we're just going to ask everyone to load in before we get started. We're going to ask our panelists to come on up on stage. If you guys can come on in and gather. All right, I think we are getting ready to start. We are super excited again for this panel. It's Friday, y'all. Can I get a shout out for Friday? I just think of the song, Just Got Paid, Friday. Okay, that's not about. Or living it up at last, Friday night. There are all these Friday songs. But it's Friday. We are wrapping up the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity. We're wrapping up 5 years of amazing work from the Can Diversity Collective in Inkwell Beach. We're wrapping up an amazing week of inclusion, partnership, celebrating the elements of creativity. And last year, we had 2 of the beautiful women sitting next to me on stage on Friday. And it was a Friday. All the magic happens on a Friday. And before we left, because we talked about the power of partnerships, and they had formed such an amazing relationship that they wanted to come on stage and talk about it. And at the end of the conversation, I remembered saying, I want you guys back and I want to know what you're doing. So let me just introduce this panel. We're going to be talking about agency allyship, a model for unlocking growth and good. So we're going to get started. And I'm just going to make sure that I don't miss anything. And as I started to say, last year, you guys came to CCDC, it was a Friday, and shared your partnership. You introduced the concept of agency allyship, and we agreed that you would be back. You honored your promise. You were back. And for those of you who are in the audience and you don't know the story, you don't remember the magic that happened that day, I want you guys to quickly share what happened, get us up to date, 365 days or so, give or take later. Give us the update.
So one, thank you so much, Adrian, for having us back. And to CCDC, we want you to give yourselves a round of applause for an amazing
All right, amazing, yes.
And we do realize that it's what's standing between you and I and the attention is food. So if you're out here, we want to say thank you. You're really dedicated. And for those that are eating, we hope that you will also be tuning in to listen over here.
I think it's the crunch from the fried chicken. That
Is it the crunch from the fried chicken? Okay. So we were here, as Adrian noted, last year, one of the first places that we wanted to come to announce our partnership was CCDC. We thought that was very important. At this time last year, the anniversary was 1 year, and now we're at 2 years. The background and the story behind this partnership is post the murder of George Floyd, as many of you know, and as many of you know, the discussion here at CCDC has been focused on DE&I. Well, that DE&I moment directly impacted Egami Group, which is an award-winning multicultural agency. Our phone started to ring like never before, and we were experiencing demands from our clients and partners that wanted to reach diverse audiences. So as a minority business founder of this agency, we were faced with options. Number one, how do we scale the business at this time to meet the demand? Do we completely sell? We had many partners calling us, making offers to acquire the firm. And or secondly, how do we remain Black-owned, stay true to our core, but access capital? And the last option was staying status quo and growing organically, but at a slower rate than our team desired. We decided as a team we wanted to step into the moment. We were aware that this global awakening was a moment that if you're in DE&I, you needed to step up to the challenge, and we wanted to scale. But we had to be very pioneering in what that looked like. Here's the barriers that was facing our agency at the time. If you're in here and you're a Black-owned business or a minority-owned business, let me see by hands. All right, I hear you clapping over there.
Minority-owned businesses, yes.
So these are the barriers that are facing minority business enterprises. Access to capital, access to curriculum, and curriculum is the knowledge to scale your business. Access to community, like-minded community, and access to connections, the right connections. We were well aware of our barriers, and our intention was, how do we find a partner that we can pioneer and receive access and tools to support us in overcoming our barriers, but also find a partner that we could help them in their vision and purpose. And then there comes this beautiful lady right here next to me, Barbie Siegel. You all give it up for Barbie. And Barbie, from your perspective, what was happening at that moment?
Thank you, Tanisha. Thank you, Adrian, for having us back. So back at Zeno, after the murder of George Floyd, like so many businesses and frankly so many CEOs, we were thinking about what we could do to help advance diversity in the industry and in our agency. And to be honest, we had made commitments prior to the murder of George Floyd, but they were not as intense or intentional as they should be. But I made a decision immediately following that tragic event that I was going to use Zeno and my platform as CEO to make change. And there was a lot of scrutiny, as many of you know, on agencies, on the numbers of people, the numbers of Black people in the agency and in leadership. And we were very transparent about our numbers, which were not particularly good at the time. But I really felt there was a different conversation to be had. I had admired Tanisha from afar for many years, and something told me in my gut that we could do something more. So I called Tanisha on the phone. It was the depths of the pandemic. And I said, I think there's something we can do. And I quickly learned that she and Egami were looking for capital. I had no interest in buying Egami. I wanted Egami to be fully who they are and do what they do and in no way compromise their ability to have deep, rich insights. And so fast forward, we created a new model of collaboration for change. We gave Egami significant capital to fuel their business forward in this moment and beyond. Last year, we evolved a new model of collaboration for change to agency allyship. We know what it is to be individual allies, but agencies in this moment can be allies too. And it is this note card on which I wrote the definition, and I carry it in my notebook all the time. I actually lost it. Tanisha found it. Story for another day. But the definition, I think, is important for this conversation. Agency allyship is agencies aligned in their unwavering and selfless advocacy, fueling one another to push through and eliminate systemic barriers.
I love that. So it's been 2 years. The title of this conversation is Agency Allyship, a model for unlocking good and growth and good. How are you finding this agency allyship 2 years later? How's it working for you? How are you delivering growth and good?
Yes. So before I answer that, I just want to kind of get, by show of hands, know who is in the room. If you're sitting in the crowd and you are part of an agency, let me see your hands. All right. Agencies, we're going to show you some love. If you're sitting in the crowd and you're a minority business enterprise, let me see that hand. Okay, all right. And I'm asking this for a reason. And if you're sitting in the crowd and you are a part of a client, you work with a brand, let me see your hand. All right. So we are seeing growth across a number of areas. We defined this from the very beginning with how can we provide growth to our talent. As Barbie noted, everyone was saying it was all about the numbers. We need to recruit more diversity talent in our industry. And we decided, how do we create something where we can fuel growth of talent of color by leveraging our two assets? So we're seeing that, and Liv is going to talk to you more about that. One example is we're able to build integrated teams. As a minority business enterprise, we have a client portfolio, but I've had a number of times amazing talent come to me and say, T, I love working at Egami. The mission, everything we do is geared toward making the world a better place for people of color, but I want to grow and I'd like to get access to experience beyond Egami's walls. I'm able to say to that talent, well, what is it? I've heard several times, I want to now be on a global piece of business. I can call Barbie and say, look, I have an integrated talent that's interested in working in London. I have talent that's interested in working on a business category that's not a part of the Egami portfolio. We're able to assign that talent, provide the work experience via the integrated team, provide the opportunities for growth, but retain the talent of color. So that's one example. Another one is we're experiencing growth for our clients. I'm not going to talk too much there because Liv and Eric will be covering that. And the last but not least, we challenged ourselves to grow the industry. We know yesterday Eric was a part of a fantastic panel that really set forth the greatest business growth opportunity right now in the marketplace will come from inclusion, winning with diverse audiences. So we take it very seriously that we want to pioneer in understanding how do you reach the new mass market in scale. So we're unlocking multicultural at scale. And I think Eric will be able to talk a little bit more, but you go ahead and I'll come back to you, Adrian.
You know she's trying to moderate the panel that I'm moderating.
I'm bossy.
She's like, Adrian, cue Eric, but I have my own questions. I don't need that. So Eric, you know, what an appropriate segue. Now, Eric, you have a front row seat, literally, of, you know, what P&G and the relationship with you and Egami and how this all works together. And really just unlocking at scale allyship, partnership, and how that works together with the client. What is your unique view on allyship, agency allyship rather, and why is it important to you?
Yes, I think it's extremely important. P&G has had a long-standing relationship with Egami. We've executed several initiatives together, but the agency ally model between Egami and Zeno Group just unlocks the opportunity to serve our businesses more fully. And what I mean by that, that brings new capability. Tanisha talked about investing in the existing talent and bringing on more talent. You know, they're going to bring on new analytic capabilities that expand and get to more truer and truer insights that are needed for our brands to grow, and even new technology capabilities. So enabling this model enables to take on more parts of our business, which we need, right? We need Egami to stay rooted in the rich insights and be a part of the culture. And multicultural is super important for P&G and our brands and our growth for the future. So we see that multicultural will bring an opportunity of billions of dollars into our businesses. So we're looking for that market growth, and this model actually enables that market growth for our brands to grow.
Love that. And, you know, one of the reasons I'm excited to have all of you on the panel, client and agency, and talking about partnerships, having a partner like Procter and Gamble partner with an agency like Egami, 2018, Egami was the first black-owned agency to win a Grand Prix award because with their partnership with Procter and Gamble. If you haven't applied for anything else, I think that is something you applaud. When you have a brand that's inclusive in nature and the way that they think about global and inclusion, and you have an agency that's steeped and rooted in the spirit and can give you that insight of what that should look like, then that's an allyship, that's a partnership that obviously makes Grand Prix winners. So I just wanted to shout that out. So everyone, if you did not know, I'm sitting on stage with history. So, Liv, let's go to you before Tanisha says, and Adrian, this is the time for
very much like Tanisha.
You are on the front lines of this partnership. So you get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, the perfect.
There is no
There's
ugly.
no ugly, actually.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But how has, this work impacted you, your teams, and the work?
Yeah, thanks for that. And it's interesting, and it's almost like a full circle moment seeing this because it's Tanisha's vision for a very, very long time. I'm not going to make you cry. When you hear and work with visionaries and you hear their future, you're like, well, how are we going to get there? And as she was looking for, we got the calls and we were saying no, and you're faced with so many things that you have to solve for. One, how am I going to have to pay checks? We're saying no to so much. We need to grow. And a phone call from a fearless leader who believes in the visionary. And Tanisha talks about dreamers don't dream alone. This is a monumentous occasion, and having two visionaries on the stage, putting that in action. So I first have to say that. When I think about what it means for me, so I oversee all of our client experiences, meaning I am the most senior person that talks to our clients and executes at a highest level. I'm able to see some of the opportunity areas. I'm able to see some of our strengths. And the one thing I will say first and foremost is when we think about the resourcing, the capital, to be able to hire the right kinds of resources to support a work stream or to support a project is meaningful and impactful. You're talking about impact. The second thing I would say, when you think about Egami had experience, but the partnership with Zeno deepened that. When I think about some of the opportunities, our first work was around creative. We had to deepen, and I'm shouting out Tracy, right, deepen our creative capabilities to be able to bring forward that expertise in partnership with Zeno. The second thing I would say is when I think about our talent, being a part of a sister company that has such great individuals who can teach our junior staff and teach even us how to go about things also bolsters, and you think about growing individuals and growing capabilities as well. When we think about also to client growth, well, the example I would give here, My Black is Beautiful is the actual account that won that Grand Prix, and that's with the My Black is Beautiful, the Talk campaign. Well, shout out to
As
Lila
the My Black
Coffee
is Beautiful leads.
and the Black Beautiful leads. So we worked with My Black is Beautiful about 16 years, and with any agency, we always are looking to grow. And we look at trends and we see that, well, digital and social is a part of that. Well, we knew we wanted to grow. We knew we were thinking about, again, innovative ways to get up and doing that. And so when we're future casting that, we're thinking about also, too, well, how do we get there? Well, being a partner and a part of a sister company, we're able to now reach out to our sister's partner to deepen our digital capability, where we now full integrated teams jointly supporting the My Black is Beautiful social team to bring that work forward from a social strategy perspective, but also from a creative execution perspective, and also to the community management. So that's one example. The second and most recent example, I can't share broadly, but we were a part of a business pitch, a new business pitch. You guys all know, you're putting forth your thinking, you're putting forth your rationale. And so it was a great meeting. We felt like we got it. And so usually after that, you take the clients out and you ask, how do you think? Did we miss anything? And one of the things they said, well, we want to know a deeper understanding of your approach to analytics. And so we set up, and they wanted to make a decision. The meeting was a Tuesday. They wanted to make the meeting the next Monday. And so we quickly said, okay, we'll come back to you and showcase that approach. Well, we put forth our recommendations, and we said, let's call Zeno and understand what they have to do. I believe the meeting was probably 2 hours before we got the call, and there were some questions posed to us that while we knew there were deep learnings, there were deep technology capabilities that I can say with their partnership, we won that business. And that is as real as this past week. And so when I talk about being the forefront and having that camaraderie and partnership, that is a real-time example of what that means.
Adrienne, can I just jump in?
Of course.
I think we're moving into our impact and measurement phase of our allyship. We always said from the beginning that we want to put real measurement on this because we do want other agencies and clients to adopt the model. So we do have early findings, hot off the press, of some research we conducted among Egami and Zeno employees. Again, this is directional for now, but I think it is important. 95% of Zeno and Egami employees' talent view agency allyship as a fundamental part of our industry moving forward. 50% said that our partnership has already helped make them feel confident. We all know the role of confidence in business and being able to get up and go for it. They feel confident regarding multicultural marketing. They've been exposed, as Liv just said, to new specialties and areas of expertise, and they're excited to bring this integrated model forward. We're going to, again, this is preliminary. We're going to continue this research. We're talking about some other research products, but we really want to give the industry hardcore data and leave no question that there is impact in this model.
So we know they're numbers people, we know they're culture people. You guys have brought the numbers and the culture to the table just as a proof point of why this agency allyship piece is successful.
In addition to the fact that we really do have a lot of fun. I mean, we just have to add that in.
Do.
I love that. So I'm sure there are people in the audience who are really curious, right? They just really want to know, like, how does this model work? Like, what can you tell them in terms of how to make this happen and, you know, give us that insight.
So if you, I'm going to talk and I want you to listen. If you're a brand, you're listening in one way. If you are the minority business enterprise, you are listening in one way. And if you're an agency, you're listening in one way. So if you are a brand, I think really understanding your power to shape and drive our industry to become more creative. I am well aware as a Black woman-owned agency, and it's a full circle moment, I am aware that the seat that was created for me at the table, it was directly associated with P&G saying to global agencies, this is our supplier diversity commitment, and you're now going to be graded and scored on it, and we want to start seeing MBEs at the table. You all made that announcement. This was many, many years ago. I'm aging myself. It was Rick Hughes. It hit all of the major papers, and all of a sudden, even though I've been having the meetings, we want to work, we want to work, we want to work. Rick Hughes, P&G, makes that statement. It's in PR Week. It's in Ad Age, and all of a sudden, my phone rings. Hey, you still interested to have that conversation? I know, I was well aware, you're calling me because the clients are now leading the way and they're using their power, right, to create that seat. So if you're an agency, P&G talked about it yesterday. When you walk in the room and you see that agency presenting to you, if it's not diverse, they talked about speaking up. Well, agency allyship is another model that you can now utilize. You go in the room, hey, have you thought about this model? I want to tell you sort of the fundamental elements, but it would include working with a minority business enterprise partner in a collaboration to ensure you're getting deep, specialized cultural insights. So if you're a brand, the takeaway that I want you to know is be open to an agency allyship model because you're going to create seats for minority business enterprises, but you're going to create great work that resonates. So that's a good for growth if you are a brand. If you are a minority business enterprise, after 16 years of being in this journey, I know what it feels like to have a dream that's so big that disconnects with maybe the reality of what you see today, what I would say to you is be open-minded around collaboration and partnerships as a vehicle to realize that dream. Now, when you start entering into those partnership discussions, know what your barriers are. Ours, access to capital, access to curriculum, access to connection, access to community. So any conversations that I was having with potential partners, I was listening for, are they willing to design to support an MBE to overcome the barriers? But also be listening to serve. What do I have to offer that I know inside of this partnership, if I bring it, there's a growth win-win for both and. So that's brands, that's minority business enterprises. And for the MBEs, you do not have to always think that the only way out is to sell. It was important to us. We wanted to remain Black-owned. We really did. And even when we were having some of those discussions, HR called me and said, T, your team members are talking. I said, what are they talking about? And they said, we decided to work for Egami because it's making the world a better place for people of color. They want to know, are you about to sell the vision? And that's a real reality that we had to protect for. So if you're MBE in the room, don't always think that has to be the option. And last but not least, if you are an agency in this room, historically, let's just put it on the table, a lot of times as an agency, you think you have to go to your client and position that you do it all. We can do that, we can do that, we can do that. And sometimes you're even behind the scene, pulling together diverse teams, folks from HR, folks from seats that will never really be doing the work. I am telling it like it is. And what I would commend Barbie for, from an agency perspective, change the mindset. Collaboration and partnership and investing in multicultural owned businesses is not only a vehicle for collaboration, but that is where your growth opportunity can be. My grandma used to break it down very simple. My grandma would say, do you want a whole grape or do you want a slice of a watermelon? Agencies, you can protect that whole grape or you can collaborate with MBEs and maybe there's a slice of a watermelon. So I can't believe my grandma just made cans. But that's, she's smiling in heaven. But that's the feedback for those in the room. And Eric, I mean, would love to hear everything you're doing with system-wide.
Yeah. Yesterday we talked about stepping up inclusion inside, outside, system-wide. And the piece that I talked about around system-wide, there's a key learning that we had is building partnerships that create sustainable growth. And one of those elements is widen the screen. And if you look at the widen the screen manifesto, the first sentence in the essence of widen the screen is that sustained action and investment is required to drive systemic change. So this model is underpinned by access to capital. And that capital enabled growth internally for their talent. And that talent creates richer insights. And those richer insights get to brilliant campaigns, particularly for our brands. And those brilliant campaigns create market growth, and particularly multicultural growth. So I love this model. It is probably, it's definitely one of the cornerstones of our learnings throughout an inclusion journey of building sustainable partnerships or building partnerships for sustainable growth. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. Does it make sense, audience? Okay.
And I would just add, thank you, Eric, for that. Yes, the allyship started with a significant investment, but that investment has to continue every single day. You know, Mark spoke yesterday about bolting on multicultural. Egami is not a bolt-on. They are part of our family. We talk every single day, and we invest in each other every single day in myriad ways, whether it's making our own resources, talent, or knowledge available. And I also want to say, Tanisha's talked a lot about what she has gotten out of this partnership, but we have gotten at Zeno a tremendous amount out of partnering with Egami. And Tanisha and Liv and Paris and others, our research findings show that it's made our talent stronger and better, and we now understand more, A, what multicultural marketing is in America today, and we are talking globally going forward, what it is to own and run an MBE, and how we can deliver better work to our clients. And we never once, when we started, we never said, we're going to do this because we're going to make more money. But we all know that DE&I is a business imperative. Do everything we said here in your own way, and everything else will follow. Doing good leads to growth.
I love it. Give a round of applause for that. Those statements. Before we ask the last question, I just wanted to quickly open it up to the audience. Any questions that you might have on growth and ally partnership?
Thank you, Tanisha. Chandra Gwen with McKinney, and so an agency, creative agency. And Tanisha, I'm wondering about what was the thing that allowed you to go ahead and say yes. We've had some conversations with folks, and there's the hesitancy, and I'm wondering what made you go ahead and make that move to partner with Barbie, and what stood out in Barbie that made the difference?
Well, it was during the time.
I'll see you later with your check.
Well, it was during the time, if you were a person of color and or an agency with the expertise, I feel like we were in a moment, we had to be very discerning, right? Because you had companies that were making commitments. As of right now, $340 billion have been committed towards racial equity projects. Washington Post reported that as of 2022, the $60 billion that was committed in 2020, only $1.7 billion of that has been dispersed. And so you had a lot of folks raising their hands with commitments. There were a lot of talent being recruited, given titles, given crazy salaries. You had agencies like myself getting acquisition opportunities. In general, if you were in the industry, I advise this is a moment to be more discerning than ever before. Be discerning, because what you do not want to do is make a move today and then 3 years later find out that it was performative or it was just about the moment but not a genuine commitment behind it. And to answer your question, there were lots of conversations. There was one particular deal that was absolutely perfect on paper. And in the last stage, my gut said, this is not it. And not only was it my gut, but it was Liv's crooked eye. Because you keep somebody around you that tell you the truth. It was Liv actually said, I'm not feeling this. Like, I'm seeing the way they're moving.
And I will say, while you asked the question of the visionary, what I will say about our visionary, she brings our leaders along, and we were very much a part of that process, so that it enabled me to say, this isn't right. When we were thinking about making that decision, we thought about our core values, and when we finally got the call from Barbie, I had already actually had a relationship with Barbie, and I leaned in and said yes, because of my interaction way long ago. When we think about, when you're looking for that, you're looking for, do these companies have investment in my vision, but do they match my core values? And when the side I gave her, I was like, this doesn't match our core values. I know we were really hungry to make a decision, but we had to say no. The other thing I would say, be brave enough to wait on the no for the right thing.
Very good.
That's good. Did I take him to church just now? That was the church. That's the church.
And so we did. We said no. We said no a lot. And to be honest, the last time that we said no, we didn't know what was coming next, but we stood true to our gut. And fast forward, I don't know how much longer later, Barbie and I was sitting on a board. It was in the middle of the pandemic. I get this Zoom message, reading to the tone of my mom says, if you see someone that you want to be their friend, to reach out, will you be my friend? And really, we our conversation started there, and it was something just very genuine and organic. And your gut will let you know, is what I'm saying. And make sure that there's shared purpose, as Liv noted. Any other questions? And do not be shy. We can have a real conversation here. Any other question? Yes.
Thank you for this. Always amazing. You guys talked a lot about what's possible last year, and now you guys have gone through a year with so much success. We can talk about that with amazing companies like P&G that have an openness to do these amazing initiatives and campaigns. Can you talk about a bit about how you're partnering with companies and more not so open cultures and businesses, and how you enter with the same vigor of diversity and inclusion and get them on board?
So Tanisha talked about in the tragic death of George Floyd, we got a lot of calls, and we've gotten really good at listening for the unsaid thing and listening of whether or not the ask is performative or if it's really tied to measurable impact and growth. And so as we have these conversations, I think we've gotten really good at saying, they're not really gonna be open to our model of collaboration, and they're not gonna be really open to our ways of working. And in those instances, we say no. Any builds?
Yes. I mean, one way you can always know is, are you talking to a partner that has raised their hand, we're going to make investments? You hear P&G was here yesterday. They have budgets that align and investments, because otherwise you're going to keep wasting your time trying to convince someone to spend. The second thing is, do they truly value the potential of inclusion and multicultural audiences and the market value? If you listen, you can tell. If you're talking to someone that says, hey, will you come in and help me convince my C-suite that you all matter? We are done convincing. I don't even go into the rooms anymore. I mean, that was the first decade of Egami. And so we want to work with someone that we're not wasting energy convincing that it matters, but it's someone that truly already knows it matters and I'm going to do this. And they're just thinking about how. Now, where they are on the spectrum, they can be in investing, piloting, innovating. They can just be getting started, but it has to be a genuine desire that they already see the value. So those are some of the things that you can listen for to say, is this truly a place that's worth my time? The last thing that I would say is, if you're a part of a team that has hired you to bring cultural competency to the table, you give the cultural competency and they still move forward with doing what they desire to do, that's a signal. Like, this is not an environment that understands the value of cultural competency. On numerous occasions, we've told a brand, hey, listen, when you reach out to this multicultural influencer, we got to make sure that the pay equity is right. If you position this ask in this way, you know, this isn't right. Or this particular messaging offends this community because of this reason. If you tell them all of those little things and they say, thank you for that, well, we still are going to go in this direction. That is someone that's really not ready for cultural competency to be built in, as P&G is saying, versus a bolted on.
So we've come to a close to this panel. I mean, and I just have one last question that I think is important. And between the two of you, you guys have such great energy, such great synergy, and give them a round of applause just for making that work. Two women leaders together, it's always amazing. But, you know, it seems you've definitely created a successful model. And then why do you think that both of you, and you've kind of covered it a little bit so you don't have to, you know, belabor the point, but why do you think it's been so successful on this journey?
I think this is an important point for business in general. First and foremost, we have the most incredible trust between us, Tanisha and I, not only as businesswomen, but as friends. And that friendship blossomed really early on, and that has been a gift that has become an outcome of this. But we really trust each other. Our team, it's not just about me and Tanisha. Yes, we set it up, but our teams really feel this partnership in their bones. And when Liv calls or others, we're there. And we're not counting, oh, that's revenue for you, that's revenue for us. In the instances we work together, we're in it together for what's right for our talent and our clients. And the last thing I would say is that we really are in it together, not for the individual, not for Zeno to make their numbers or Egami. We're really in it for the collective. And I think that is the mindset. We want to do this because it is the right thing to do for where we are at this moment going forward. We want to have an impact on people, on business, and society, and we are passionate about the agency allyship model. I thank you for giving us this stage, and I really hope other agencies will go forward and form their own agency allyships. Our goal, and we'd love to come back next year if you'll have us, is to create an agency allyship network. We want to have 2 or 3 new agency allyships that can come forward and talk about their experiences, and we can then do this together as a network and, as they say, be the change.
I love that. So you've heard the challenge. You know we're all about calling people out on their challenges. So next year we need to see a new model of an agency allyship opportunity. So please, Procter & Gamble, thank you for being an amazing partner to us. We all don't exist if you are not here to support us, so thank you. Thank you to Liv, thank you to Barbie, thank you to Nisha for creating such an extraordinary example. Leading by example is so important for us. Beautiful women leading the way, and a woman shall lead us, as they say. And we thank you for the support. So please give another round of applause to our amazing panel, Agency Allyship, a model for unlocking growth and good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know it's gonna be good.